Hello and welcome to the forecast for October 13th until the 19th. My name is Desiree de Lunae, your acupuncturist, herbalist, and astrologer. We've got some notable events this week that are coming up. We've got Pluto that is going direct. It's been in retrograde for some time now, and that's quite significant. We also have Venus going into a whole new sign, and we have a Mars-Mercury conjunction. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and let's dive into the energetics of the week so that you can prepare or brace yourself for what is about to happen. Okay, so let's begin with Monday. So we are still in Libra season, but we're also in a third quarter moon phase. So here, this is about kind of realigning, reflecting, starting to wind down. The moon, the light of the moon is getting to be lesser and lesser until we hit that new moon phase later next week. But one thing that is notable is that we have the moon and Jupiter together in Cancer, and moon rules Cancer. So that is a very beautiful placement where we're feeling emotionally connected with ourselves. We're desiring these beautiful bonds with the people in our life, more vulnerability, honesty, and even a lot of positivity and optimism here. Jupiter does provide that expansive feel, that like, oh, this grand vision that we have. And it just brings a lot of warmth and generosity and compassion too. So the nurturing qualities within us are more expanded right now with moon next to Jupiter. Now, these are in square with the sun. So one of the things we've got to be careful of, especially with Jupiter being present as part of this square, is overgiving, over promising, maybe even exaggerating. Sometimes, our ideas and our feelings feel a lot bigger than what our actual capacity of delivery is. So just be cautious of, overcommitting and overpromising, as well as people pleasing, excessive people pleasing, especially with the sun in Libra in this square. So that is the one caution. However, what I do love is that moon is in trine to Mars. And that is a blue line conversation between moon and Mars does bring a lot of boldness and directness and courage as well. So, overall, I really love the emotional honesty that comes from this whole configuration. Okay, so we also want to talk about this whole Mercury-Mars situation. They are on this day 4 degrees apart from each other, but every day throughout this week, it's going to get closer and closer, and then they're going to hit a conjunction when they are at the exact same degree. And remember, Mercury is the mind, and Mars represents our passion, it's our drive, our willpower, it's our go-getter type of energy. And so when we have these two together, this really activates and stimulates the mind. So we're going to see increased mental clarity, sharpness, focus, even creative problem solving and strategy, especially with Jupiter talking or having a little trine here to Mars. This is really going to stimulate that creative problem solving. So one of the things we do need to be cautious, because there is a shadow expression of this, and these are in Scorpio. Scorpio is very intense, very serious, very laser-like. And if you think about the scorpionic venomous pokey tail, okay, it can penetrate and it can inject venom. And so we want to be cautious not to be so aggressive, domineering, controlling, obsessive. So just take a pause if you find yourself just wanting to quickly speak or be really, really blunt or rude per se, okay, really aggressive, just to be careful because there's going to be a tendency towards that. But I will say this is brilliant when we're talking about deep research or deep learning or, deep investigative work where you've got to sort and sift through a tremendous amount of information and details and facts and put things together or even come up with planning. This is strategic planning at its finest here with this Mercury and Mars in Scorpio, because Mars rules Scorpio. It's in its home sign. Talk about, I mean, what does a scorpion do? It studies its prey, right? It studies its habits, its movements, its patterns. And that's what Mars and Scorpio is so excellent at. And, the mind is a part of this mix here. So you can really look at projections and planning, decision making, and really coming up with the best solutions as a result. Okay, here's another thing that I want to talk about is you will see a grand trine right here, and it's only going to get stronger throughout the week, especially when Venus enters Libra. That's going to be our one big change this week. You see this big blue triangle. It's actually a kite pattern coming down here into Neptune and Saturn, but Venus and Uranus and Pluto are in a grand trine. They are talking to each other. And when we're looking at Venus, Venus has to do with our values, our sense of self-worth even. It's the things that we will spend our money on. That's why it represents money. It represents, what we purchase, what we buy, what we consider valuable enough to spend money on, right? But it's also our relationships. And so here, when we have all this activation happening from Uranus and Pluto to Venus, there is some kind of breakthrough energy, liberating, transformative process that is happening within our own sense of self-worth, within, who and what we value. And our relationships, the dynamics of our relationships. I mean, there is an evolution that is taking place right now in those topics and themes. And when Venus goes into Libra, it's going to really, really intensify, and we're going to have all of them in these air signs. So that's something to be to have an eye on. Now, I do want to mention on Monday night. So that was more early in the beginning of the day, but now this is Monday evening. This is specifically at 10:52 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We have at that exact time a change with Pluto. Now, I circled Pluto up top here. Pluto is in Aquarius, but if you look in the day before, I'm just going to go back to the day before. Notice we have Pluto down here. It's still in Aquarius, 1 degree, but it's red. When it's red like that, that means it's retrograde. So it looks like it's moving backwards relative to the point of view from the Earth. And so it is stationing direct. Okay, here's the thing. When you have a planet that goes from retrograde and then stations direct and then moves forward, we're talking about like it's stopped. It's in a standstill. And when a planet is stationing direct or even stationing retrograde, it is incredibly slow. I mean, it stopped. So that means the impact, the influence of that planet on the Earth is very significant. It's very high. So the slower moving planets have these very powerful impacts on us. And if you think about a car, for example, when you take your car and you go in reverse and you need to come to a stop, right, before you go forward and push the gas. But in the process of going into reverse, you're slowing down until you come to a stop. And that's what's happened right here. This past week, Pluto's been slowing down in that retrograde motion, going in reverse, right? Slowing down and then complete stop. And then now we got to shift into drive from reverse, right? And so then from this point forward, for the next few days, really the next couple of weeks, it's going to gradually increase its speed. I mean, it doesn't go from stationary to full speed ahead, right? It gradually increases speed. So honestly, this whole Pluto, we've been feeling it as it's been slowing down for a week prior to this day on Monday night. Picture this. Instead of feeling drained, doubting yourself, and putting everyone else first, instead, you are confidently expressing yourself, your boundaries, living on fire with your soul's mission, and experiencing this deep well of inner peace. This transformation, it's possible. I live it myself every day, and that's why I created Rise and Thrive. This is a transformative membership that combines the wisdom of Chinese medicine, essential oils, and other healing practices that shift you from surviving to thriving. So click down in the link below to join the Rise and Thrive membership so that you too can live a life in harmony, in peace, and in deep, authentic alignment with your true essence. But for the next few days, it's going to be at its peak in its slowness. And so then peak in its impact. And really, it's going to probably take several weeks for Pluto to go into its normal cruise control motion. So Pluto's impacting us is what I'm trying to say. And, when it was in retrograde, it was working on more behind the scenes, hidden things, more restructuring in the background. And then when it goes direct and moving forward, now a lot of those changes are going to be experienced, felt, or seen, manifested outwardly. So one of the questions I have for you is, where does Pluto land in your chart? What house does it land in your chart? Because with Pluto in Aquarius, there's going to be a lot of reinvention in that area of your life. There's going to be a lot of innovation and change. One of the things, you have the planet of death and rebirth. Okay. Talk about change transformation, right? It's literally the planet of change. And it's in a sign that likes to be efficient, that likes to be optimized. It likes to tear down. It doesn't like structures and systems that are irrelevant, that are outdated, that are not supportive, and that are not efficient. So this area of your life is going through a complete restructuring. Maybe you're going to see the use of, greater technologies in this area of your life too. So what house is it? In this situation, it's in the 9th house. And here, the 9th house rules travel, especially foreign travel. It also is education. It's spirituality. Maybe they use different kinds of spiritual technologies, for example. In this next 20 years, remember, this is a whole 20-year cycle. It's a long cycle. But I'm just saying right now, its impact is quite strong and extreme. So another thing that Pluto is really great at is that it brings out the hidden. It brings out hidden truths and brings it to the surface so that we can now work with it and interact with it. So more things coming to light for you in this area of your life as well. And we're just going to see a lot of healing. There's a lot of wound healing involved when we're dealing with Pluto. So a lot of healing that is going to be taking place in this sector of your chart as well. So just keep that in mind. See if the themes of the house in which Pluto is sitting in is really prominent in your life. Mine is in my 6th house, and I am definitely dealing with all kinds of health things right now. And I see its evidence working in my life. Okay, so that is Monday. So Monday already, we have a major directional change of Pluto, and it's going to greatly impact us. Now on Tuesday, we have Moon going into Leo, and this is a fire sign, and it is very vibrant, playful, fun, adventurous, creative, expressive, heart-centered. It's a really nice placement. Well, I guess I'm biased because my moon's in Leo. However, I will say this moon is quite supercharged and activated. This week, there's just a lot of interesting energies to work with. It's not boring. Let's say that. It's not boring. You will be delighted. You will be surprised. You will be all kinds of things. So Moon is in Leo. Now, it is opposite Pluto. And remember, Pluto just went direct. So all the Pluto things that we just talked about, we have a direct, look, literally at this moment, this is actually 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. direct 1 degree, Pluto to 1 degree moon, all right? 180 degrees. This is a direct opposition. And so all the things that Pluto's going through in your life, it's amplified in your sensation of it, in your feeling of it, in your connection of it, because the moon represents our energy body, our emotional body, our physical body. You're going to feel Pluto. You're going to feel what Pluto is doing in your life at the beginning of this day. So talk about, like I said, really facing things, hidden things coming to the surface, the change, the massive great change that is happening into that sector of your life. It is just up close and personal. And with the moon being in Leo, I feel that to be helpful because we can play with it. We can get creative with it. I mean, Leo is actually very, very creative energy. And in addition to that, in addition to all of this, right, it's part of this gigantic kite pattern. Do you see this? So we have now, not only this big Pluto change, on Tuesday, Venus officially goes into Libra, and Venus is at home in Libra, and it's very happy here. So definitely the themes of connection and beauty and peace and harmony are going to be of great importance. And I think that's wonderful considering, everything else that's going on in the background. Now, the reason why I'm talking about Venus here is look at this. You've got the moon, Venus, and Uranus in a mini grand trine. And so these three planets are harmonized, talking to each other, working with one another. And your emotions are so in tune. Your energy body is so in tune into all that's happening, even with the outer planets, okay? Because you're going to see the moon that is also in trine to Neptune. So it's in tune with all of the shifts and the changes that you are personally going through, as well as what the world is going through. Remember, I talked about this change in values, possibly change in values or changes in your relationships, boundaries within your relationships. Maybe you're looking for more mature relationships. You're outgrowing some of your friendships or a partner, a love partner, for example. Maybe you are changing the way that you are interacting with your money and your finances. These are all indicators of Venus. And the moon is very well apprised of what's going on. The moon, in a way, gives you this awareness, this emotional awareness of all of the changes that are happening internally within you. So this is so much breakthrough. This is so much real shifts that are happening, real activations that are happening. And you may physically feel it in your body because the moon is basically communicating with everything here. It's touching practically everything. So it's in tune, all right? It's listening, it's feeling, it's listening, it's experiencing. Even with Uranus, expect the unexpected. Expect the unexpected. There might be some curveballs that are thrown in your day that may be cool and amazing, or wow, that is not what I need right now. It could be a mixed bag for sure. But overall, you see where you're going. You have a clear understanding where you're going. I mean, we just went through that Aries full moon. So yes, I really love the activations of this day. It will be hard to ignore, deny, pretend. No, it's stepping into it. It feels like a stepping into your new future kind of moment for Tuesday. All right. Now let's go to Wednesday. We still have moon in Leo. We have a couple of squares here. We've got the moon that is squaring Mercury and Mars. The one thing I just want to note for this day is this can cause some anger and being a little impatient, frustrated, irritable, especially if you don't feel appreciated or validated or seen or recognized or acknowledged. So just be careful. Like I've said this whole week, this Mercury-Mars thing, watch your tongue, be careful. don't say things you're going to regret. So slow down in your speech, because with all this fire, moon and fire, and here Mars, Mercury, like you're gonna want to be quick to say anything, and whatever you feel just comes right out, right? So just remember to take deep breaths, especially if you're going to say things that are going to have profound impacts and consequences for people. All right. Now, Thursday. Thursday, we've got Moon square Uranus. This is a little bit of a difficult conversation. This can cause some restlessness, some irritability. This can cause sudden unexpected events, changes, sudden and unexpected shifts in your moods and your state as well. So that's one thing to be cautious of. You may also want to feel, or let me correct that. You might feel this urge to break free from something, like you want to be liberated from something. That's something Uranus needs deeply, is freedom, independence, liberation. And if you feel trapped or constricted in any way, it's like you want to scream and get out. So that sometimes we can have that kind of sensation with a square from Moon to Uranus. Okay, on Friday, big change. Moon goes into Virgo. And now we're in an earth sign. This is a very grounded, practical sign versus Leo. We were very fiery and expressive. So here, usually it's just like, I just want to take care of my routines, more of the mundane stuff. I just want to tidy up. I want to take care of my health. I got to get into the gym. Let me, do some meal planning. Let me do my laundry. Like that's usually where our moods want to go when Moon is in Virgo. Now we do have this Sun square Jupiter exact. Now we've had it all week, but now we've hit like the peak point here. So again, be careful with, this can bring lots of optimism and ambition, which is beautiful. We love that. Now, just be careful if we get into, rose-colored glasses and overly like idealizing something, or overly committing or overestimating how great something's going to be. So that's the one point of caution, is that whole rose-colored glasses effect. I think in some ways this Mars helps. We still have a slight trine from Mars, and Mars in Scorpio is not fluff. Okay, it's getting down to the truth and down to reality. So this could be the saving grace, so that you don't get so you don't get ahead of yourself in a way that can be destructive or delusional, right? We do not want to do that. So Saturday, we have Moon still here in Virgo. It has a nice sextile to Jupiter, and Jupiter's exalted. So this is really nice. This is going to bring, Moon in Virgo can be a little too realistic and practical and logical and not dream as much. Let's just kind of do the more minimalistic. Okay. Virgo is more minimalistic, but with the help of Jupiter is going to help our emotions to just feel a little more than just beyond the bare necessities here. So I do like the gratitude that we get, the appreciation that we get from Jupiter, and just a little bit more of a bigger vision than sometimes Virgo allows. And it can bring some kindness and also helping like others in a very practical way. This is very nurturing, actually. Virgo is a very nurturing sign. I mean, yeah, it's picky. It's picky, it's detailed, it may be obsessive, worry a lot for sure, but it likes to help. It really loves to help people. And so we do get a little bit more like expansion of the heart and more like generosity and being more giving, with Jupiter talking to the Moon while Moon is in Virgo. Okay. We also have Moon that is trine Uranus on this day. That's nice. And it'll get stronger throughout the day, actually, into the evening. And Uranus brings that feeling of newness and excitement and adventure and freedom and difference. So you might want to shake things up a little bit. this day. Go out in the evening to a new place, a new location that you've never visited. Novelty will be the way to go here for Saturday night. Now, Sunday. Wow. I consider this quite an electrifying day. We are getting close to the Libra new moon that's going to happen in the next week. But look, moon has entered in the sign of Libra, and it is now snuggling up next to Venus in Libra. And so Venus is in its home sign. All right. So this means the moon is even very well supported in Libra. Now in Libra, especially with Venus right there, okay, this is going to be a mood where you're feeling like, oh, you want to connect with people. You want a good time. This is pleasure. This is fun. This is so feel good. This is just laughter and joy and storytelling and all the just pleasantries of life. That's how I see this. And you've got the sun, the moon, and Venus all here hanging out in Libra. Now, it is a balsamic moon coming up. So this is, right before a new moon. So the light is just very little. So it's more internal. It's not like we want to go out and seek a bunch of whole new things. Like there's something quiet about this phase. So maybe like having a lovely Sunday evening house party gathering, potluck or something like that would be a nice way to play with these energies. Now, another thing too is that it is part of this whole grand trine again. Granted, it's not as exact as it was a few days prior, but it's still part of this grand trine. And we have all the air signs engaged. When we're talking air, we're talking our ideas, right? Our thoughts. And so good conversation, good sharing of ideas, collaboration. This would be actually a really great season for collaborating with someone in something new, something exciting, something different, something healing as well. And not only that, we have Mercury and Mars in the exact same degree. They are officially conjunct. And this means that peak of that mental sharpness, all right, the mental focus, the laser-like focus, it's at its extreme right now. And, honestly, when I think of all of these luminaries in Venus and Libra and Mercury and Mars here in Scorpio, this actually would be, and oh my gosh, and this is in opposition to Neptune, great time for something powerfully creative. Like if you have a creative project you've been trying to give birth to, you're going to have all the juices to do that. You're going to have the focus. I mean, Mercury and Mars, you cannot disrupt them from their focus flow. Like they are in it and they're in it hard. They're in it deep. They're not coming out of that cave. So if you really need to go in, and this balsamic moon is very internal, balsamic moons are more about retreat and isolation too. That's why I'm thinking more of quiet gatherings, smaller gatherings, but intimate gatherings like that you'll get more out of rather than a Leo type big party, for example, with a revolving door. No, we want something very intimate, something deep, something vulnerable, something transformative. It's going to be very transformative. So if you're looking for a sweet time to get a creative project into motion, or you've kind of hit a block and you need to get over that block, this Sunday would be the day to do so. Very, very activated. And you have, a couple of these grand trines as part of the conversation too. So wonderful. Thank you. I hope you have a successful week. I hope that you learn quite a bit about yourself and come into great awareness about certain things, especially with all the grand trines that are going. Let me know how this Pluto is impacting you in that area of your chart. What house number is Pluto in? And remember, I do use whole sign houses. That is my preference. So if you look up your chart, please look it up in the whole sign house way and then respond down below. All right, we will see you in the next forecast. Do you find yourself giving more than receiving, doubting your worth, and maybe even hiding your powerful gifts from the world? These are signs of someone being disconnected with their soul's highest expression. I'm Desiree de Lunae, an acupuncturist, herbalist, and astrologer. And through my own healing journey of self-discovery, I have learned how to shift these lower frequency states into empowered living. I use Chinese medicine, essential oils, astrology, as well as work that brings together ancient wisdom and modern healing practices. So I want to introduce to you Rise and Thrive. This is a unique membership program where you'll be receiving quarterly workshops, guided meditations, and essential oil blend recipes that are specifically designed for empathic, hypersensitive women like you. Unlike other one-off workshops or some generic self-help program, understand that Rise and Thrive offers ongoing support, practical tools that help you to create lasting and progressive transformation. So at just $61 per quarter, it is the most affordable way to work with me consistently. So click on the link down below, join the Rise and Thrive membership, the community, and begin your journey into living your authentic, empowered life.